Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do kind of a fun video talking about a genre I don't talk a ton about. But first I thought I would just say thank you so much to everyone who commented and said how much they liked my new glasses. As you can see, I am wearing my old glasses again because unfortunately these ones do not have an anti-glare coating on them. And while everyone said they didn't find it distracting, it definitely was distracting me. So while I do have them, I'm going to stick with my old ones for now. Yeah, first world problems for sure, but I did want to say thank you to everyone who said how much they like my new glasses. Maybe I'll take them back to the store that I bought them in and see if maybe there's something they can do about that. But they were just kind of off the shelf ones. I did get new lenses in these, so they are not scratched anymore. Long explanation, way more than you needed, but I truly just wanted to say thank you. So what am I going to talk about today? Certainly not my glasses anymore. I thought I would come out and talk a little bit about the sci-fi books. Definitely not a genre that I read a ton of or really would say I'm a huge fan of, but I wanted to come out and talk about the books that I have been reading that have really made me start to love this as a genre. If you're familiar with my channel, you may know I read a lot of books from the 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list, and the sci-fi books on that list are somewhat limited. And not only are they limited, but they are so complicated. They include books like 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. Great book, highly complicated. I always thought, I watched the movie adaptation of this by Stanley Kubrick and thought that the monkeys in the beginning was a Kubrick thing. No, it's in the actual book. So there's a lot going on in this, and it is definitely very, very complicated and isn't necessarily the best place to start. Other books that I've read from the 1001 list that are in sci-fi genre would include Neuromancer by William Gibson. I actually do have a video for this particular one, which I will leave linked for you. But this particular book is something called Cyberpunk, and I would say I was also extremely confused but entertained. So yeah, it's just one of those kind of books, again, complicated. So that's another one. The next one that I have read from the 1001 list is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. This book is the premise for Blade Runner. I have tried to watch the Blade Runner movie, I don't know how many times, but we'll say a lot. And I have just never been able to really get on board with that movie, and so had read the book. I did read it with a group of people, and that was magnificent, but again, very complicated. So last year I happened to start reading some sci-fi books with a wonderful group of other booktubers, which include Gemma from Gemma Books, Fraser Simon from Springboard Thought, Sarah at Freshly Read Books. And we started with probably the best place, I would say, for a new sci-fi reader, science fiction reader, to kind of start. If you read a lot of sci-fi, this is not going to be necessarily very helpful for you. But if you are looking to start reading sci-fi and you just don't know quite where to start, this video may actually give you a really great place. Where we started reading, we did read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep together and 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I'm so thankful that I got to read that with them. But the place that we actually started that made me start to fall in love with this was, of course, Becky Chambers. I've talked about Becky Chambers a couple of times on my channel, but really about the Wayfarer series. And really the first and the fourth books were my favorites. But the first book is called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I will leave a book cover up here for you. That book is something that I did not expect. I had kind of an impression of what the book would be, and it didn't turn out to be necessarily that, but it was so much fun. This is part of the Wayfarer series. There's 4 books in the series. So the first book, really you start to learn a little bit about this world building. You find out how far in the future you are. It feels like you're pretty far in the future, but you are on a crew on a ship, and they are going out to do a job where they're punching holes, I believe, to allow for more space travel. It is a multiple POV or point of view book with a very big found family element to it. So if you are a fan of found family, this book is probably going to be right up your alley. Think kind of the vibe of Guardians of the Galaxy, if you watch that movie, or a series like Firefly, that found family aspect is very much what you will find in that first book of A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. So it's important to note as you go through the rest of the series for the Wayfarer series, you have A Closed and Common Orbit, Record of a Spaceborne Few, and The Galaxy and the Ground Within. One thing, the characters don't carry forward in each of these books. You get different characters in most of them. You do have a little bit of characters between 1 and 2 that show up, but for the most part, you're getting brand new characters in each book. And it's just the same universe, essentially, that the books are set in. But if you are looking for a sci-fi series that will pull you in and really get you excited about reading sci-fi, I would highly recommend the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers, and really the first book. And I loved the last book. I don't think you have to read all 4 if you don't want to read the second or the third. Definitely a departure from the first one, but they both have multiple POVs in them. Both have a found family kind of aspect to it, and I really, really love them. So that's my first one. My second series I've been reading this year. No, I started it last year with the same group, and it is The Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. This is more of, I guess, what you would call a space opera. Very much, this book definitely starts to edge into more of the science-y side of science fiction. It is one that there are, I think, 10 or 12 books in this full series. I've only read 2. So this one has multiple POVs again, a very much a found family kind of aspect to it. You start off in Leviathan Wakes with a crew that is on an ice hauler, and they answer a distress signal and head out to see if they can help. And things just start to go sideways from there. It is another multiple POV perspective in this particular book. So you get a lot of different characters kind of being introduced in this, but oh my gosh, it is so much fun. The science isn't too heavy that you feel like you're lost in the science component of it, but that found family aspect of it. And the crew in this particular book, very fascinating, very funny, a lot of them, and in some cases very violent, but absolutely excellent. And it does, like I said, have more sciencey kind of components in it. There's a lot of, there's some unusual characteristics in this particular one, but in Leviathan Wakes, you really get a good introduction. However, I just finished, everyone, Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey. So this is the second book. This book, we have some of the same characters that were in the first book. So you don't lose the continuity between the characters between book 1 and book 2, which is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of that because I get invested in my characters and want to know more of what's happening with them. That's why I've read all 50 plus books of the In-Depth series by J.D. Robb, because I love those characters so much and they can just pull me in. This one starts off though with a new character, and right off the gate you are in an action-packed environment, and just things are just happening all over the place. My favorite part of this book is when all of the points of view converge together. So good. Absolutely so good. I love the political intrigue in this one. I love the new character that they introduced. I'm so curious if we're going to have that character in the third book, which, spoiler, I do own, which is Abaddon's Gate. So yeah, 3 books in this so far. Very excited to pick up the rest of them. But this is a good series, I think, if you want a little bit more science, but not too much science, is what I would say. This is a great one. The next 2 books that I'll talk about are by the same author, but I like them for slightly different reasons, so I'll talk about them separately. The first one is The Martian by Andy Weir. And so this was actually published way back in 2014, feels like a long time ago, 9 years ago. And there was a major motion picture made of this with Matt Damon in it. If you have seen the movie and said, oh, I don't need to read the book because the book is so much better than the movie. It's unbelievable. This is heavy on the science side of the science fiction. So if you're not familiar with the premise of The Martian, there is a crew out on Mars who are working, and there is a big storm, and they end up having to leave the planet very, very quickly, and a person is left behind. And that person is Mark Watney, who is now on Mars completely alone. So where the other had more of a found family kind of aspect of it, this is him trying to survive in this very inhospitable world all by himself. So he has to learn how to do things like grow his own food and in an environment that doesn't have any oxygen in it. And so lots and lots of science for sure, but still relatable, still consumable. What I would say about the book compared to the movie is in the book, he is so incredibly funny. Absolutely, absolutely hilarious. The different pieces of it. I read this book and immediately gave it to my husband to have him read, and he loved it as well, 100%. If you're looking for a heavier science-y kind of book that is science fiction in the science fiction genre, I would say try out The Martian by Andy Weir. So that leads me to my next one, which was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I read this last year with a book club at work, and this one was published in 2021. So it's a little bit newer than The Martian was. And this one, the way that this book starts pulls you in right away. So right at the beginning, you are on a spaceship and you don't know why you're there. And that part of it, and I don't want to say too much about that particular part because there is some kind of spoilery stuff in there. So just know it is a thrill ride right from the beginning and you have no idea what's going on. Lots of heavy on the science again. Some interesting characters are introduced in this one. It is not a sequel to The Martian, different people, different storyline, everything, but really, really well done. But it is heavy again on the science. So the last series is one that I have only read the first book of, and that is the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. I have this 4-box set here. I have read All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So what I would say is I read this book over a year ago and did purchase this box set, but I've still only read the first one. So I'm really excited to dig into this series again. I might actually reread All Systems Red now that I've read a little bit more sci-fi. I'm wondering how this will actually suit me and see if I like it now. I mean, I liked it before, but maybe now that I've read a few other books in the sci-fi genre, maybe this will be one that will pull me in and I'll immediately want to read the other 3 books in this little box set that I have, which include Rogue Protocol, Artificial Condition, and Exit Strategy. So maybe we'll see. But that's the last kind of one that I have that I'm still digging into. I think that one would be one that is a series that I'm super excited about digging back into and seeing if now that I've read a bit more science fiction, will that be end up being one of my favorites. So a good mix of books. If you're looking for something super sciencey, pick up The Martian. I don't think you would be disappointed. I love that book. Unbelievable. It's probably one of my top 10 books almost of all time. If you want to continue with that, definitely read Project Hail Mary. The other one, Artemis by Andy Weir, I haven't even read, so I can't speak about that one. If you're looking for a good found family with low science, I would say pick up the Becky Chambers Wayfarer series, starting with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. If you want kind of a found family with a bit more science in it, then definitely look at The Expanse and pick it up, because I think there's a number of really great characters in there and it has a really interesting and engaging story with it, and the science is understandable is what I would say. And then the last one is the Murderbot series, which, like I said, I need to dig back into. It feels more like a lone wolf kind of one right now and not necessarily a found family, but I do remember laughing quite a bit about the main character and how they just wanted to sit and watch TV, watch some old reruns of different series, but I have to go back and reread it. So what did you think of these particular recommendations? Are there any that you think, if I like these books, that I should read? I would love to hear that in the comments down below. I really hope that I'll be able to find some additional books that will increase my love of reading the sci-fi genre. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.